Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Employment Committee. I'm Councillor Stuart Brown, Chair of the Committee. I would like to draw your attention to the following housekeeping and safety information. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble by the Queen Victoria statue in Guildhall Square. To comply with the Guildhall Trust Fire Marshal regulations, if you have signed into the Guildhall, please remember to sign out when you leave the building after today's meeting. Live web streaming. This meeting will be live streamed and the camera zooms in to show the speaker. This is linked to the microphones, therefore can I please remind all attendees to turn on their microphones to speak and then off again once you have finished speaking. Members of the public are permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those explicitly stating that they do not wish to be recorded. Please be advised that the public seating area is not in view of the camera used to webcast this meeting. Deputations. There are no deputations for this meeting. Apologies for absence. We've received apologies from Councillor Simon Bosher and from Councillor Dave Ashmore. Are there any further apologies? No, thank you. Before we do members' interests, I think we should go around and do a round of introductions. So if we start with the front and work back, please.
Thanks, Stuart. I'm Councillor Darren Sanders. I'm one of the Liberal Democrat representatives on this committee.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Charlotte Gerarda, Labour representative for the committee. Thank you.
I'm Sue Page from Representing Finance.
Rochelle Williams, Human Resources.
Natasha Edmonds, Director of Corporate Resources. Excuse me.
Karen Martin, Democratic Services.
Thank you all very much. Members, do you have any declarations of interest? No, in which case we'll proceed to item 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of March 2023. Does anyone have any issues to raise with the minutes from the previous meeting?
Apologies, Chair. I don't have any issues with the minutes. Maybe I should say that I'm a member of GMB and Unite as a declaration of interest. I don't know if I need to, but I'll just say it anyway.
That's great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and if there's no issues with the minutes, do we all, members, do we agree the minutes from the previous meeting? Fantastic. Moving on to item 4, trade union facilities time in 2022-2023. I'd like to invite Natasha Edmonds, invite Rochelle Williams to introduce the report, please.
Thank you. As suggested, this is the Trade Union Facility report for 2023. This is a retrospective report looking at last year's data. This is a statutory report that we bring to Employment Committee annually. The main body of the report includes a couple of tables that were specifically requested by members, not necessarily members that were present here now, but for additional information. So that's table 2A and table 3. Which just gives a little bit more detail in terms of the breakdown and a bit more contextual information. That information will not be published, so Appendix A is the statutory report that will be published on the website if approved here today at full council. Just for information, Table 3 is in alphabetical order, so please don't draw any conclusions from the ranking order. It is just how the data was given to us in alphabetical order. Moving on to Appendix A, the only item that I would draw your attention to is the total cost of facility time in Tables 4.3. This is based on recorded time, so we're reliant on the trade unions recording their hours, so it's not necessarily indicative of full spend or full budget allocated to our trade union colleagues. It is about those hours that have been recorded, and we do a lot of work to try and improve the recording, but clearly there's periods of annual leave or absences for other reasons, at which point they wouldn't officially be on trade union business and therefore would not record those hours. So it might be slightly different to the hours that are funded. So that's the only point that I wanted to draw members' attention to, but then happy to take any questions.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Members, do you have any questions on the report? Councillor Sanders.
Thanks, Stuart. No questions as such, but just a couple of comments. I think I've been the one who's been banging on about a more accurate description of how long our union friends spend on union work, and I'm delighted it's happening because actually it rather distorts the legal bit that we're supposed to do, and is much more realistic and, unsurprisingly, is much less horrific than some people would have you believe. I think we regard the work that our union colleagues do as essential, not least in disciplinary hearings, which is very helpful. I'm fully aware of the issues around paragraph 5.3, which is around the funding arrangements that have gone on. And I know that we will, as an administration, be delighted to continue working with our union colleagues on a proper business case, so that we can then have something that is sustainable going forwards, rather than have it sort of every year and subject to the budget process, because that doesn't really do any good to anybody. Whether that will come about or not, we have no idea, but we are open. So thanks for that, Stuart, and Rochelle as well.
Rochelle, would you or any of your colleagues like to comment on Councillor Sanders' statement?
Not only to say we had a very productive meeting with trade union colleagues and the leader this morning around the points that Councillor Sanders makes, so hopefully progress, with finance, most important person in the room, and we're talking about budgets, so hopefully that will make progress, because it's beneficial for all of us if we have a longevity around the funding, as opposed to, as you say, looking at this year on year, because it really doesn't assist with recruitment and retention and secondment arrangements. It's very difficult for our services to release staff on a year-by-year basis, whereas we have that longevity, we can work with them in a more proactive way. So certainly progress is being made in that space.
That's very good to hear, thank you. Councillor Gerard, any questions from you?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. And yes, I completely agree with Councillor Sanders in that it's critical that we work with the trade unions, and it has long-term beneficial benefits for staff and also for the council as an organisation. I just wondered, in terms of that total amount of funding, so the 75k figure, when was the last time that was sort of reviewed as a figure?
This morning, very early this morning. So we have had some toing and froing with the finances. Did you want to come in, Sue, because you've probably got the more accurate data?
I think the budget of 75,000 was originally back in 2017-18, something like that. It was cut in half by during the budget exercise, by the relevant administration at the time. And since then, we have topped it up each year from the portfolio reserves, to back to that level. So this is really today, we were talking about the ongoing, embedding this into the budget in going forward. So the business case that we get from the unions should give us an idea of what they're aiming for.
Any further questions from members? Anything further than our colleagues from the Officer Corps would like to raise at all? Okay, in which case, members, do we note the report? Yes, lovely, thank you very much. The report is noted. Item 5, the Hampshire Pensions Fund Panel and Board appointment. We have been asked to make an appointment to this board. So far, one councillor has expressed interest, which is Councillor Judith Smythe. She was appointed by the Employment Committee to serve as a full member of the board last year and is keen to serve as the substitute member this year, with Southampton City Council's representative serving as the full member for the forthcoming year. Councillor Sanders.
I formally propose Judith as a substitute member.
I was going to say that we don't actually need to take an official vote on it, it's just an appointment.
I still formally propose Judith as a substitute member.
I was going to say, are there any other councillors that anyone knows of that have expressed an interest in this? No, in which case the committee will appoint Councillor Judith Smythe to serve as the substitute member of the Hampshire Pension Fund Panel and Board for the rest of the municipal year, subject to that person remaining an elected member. That brings us to the end of today's agenda. Thank you all very much for coming, and I will see you again in a couple of months' time. Thank you.